it's Nicole. I'm here bringing you a very late March wrap-up. If I'm looking over here, it's because I have my laptop up with my Twitter thread that I have pinned to my profile of all my reads that I'm doing for 2018. And it's just easier for me that way to look at when I read these books, and then so I can tell you all about it. Some of the books I have physical copies, some were audiobooks, and then some were ebooks. So if I don't have the physical copy, I'll insert a picture of the book somewhere around here. And so without further ado, here are all the books that I read in the month of March. The first two books that I read in the month of March were His Captive Mountain Virgin and Claiming His Mountain Bride by Madison Fay. If you watched my February wrap-up, I read the third book in this series. I didn't know it was a series, so when I found out it was a series, I wanted to read the first two. I ended up reading His Captive Mountain Virgin second. It was the second book in the series, and then I read the first one, which was Claiming His Mountain Bride. And so I was just destined to read this series backwards. But very quick romance reads. I honestly really love this author. The next book I read in the month of March was Night Keepers by Jessica Anderson. I picked up the first two in this series at the book fair that I go to in February because J.R. Ward did a little blurb here, and I love J.R. Ward. And honestly, it looked really good, just the cover. And it's the Final Prophecy series. It took me a while to get into this first book. It was just a lot of stuff that I'm not very familiar about. It was a whole new mythology. It's about the end of the world prophecy, the Mayan calendar that ended, and that final day was supposed to be the end of the world because that's when the Mayan calendar stopped. I don't really know a lot about Mayan mythology, so it was interesting in that regard, but it just took me a little bit to get into this book. And I didn't immediately jump into the second book. My interest in this book wasn't piqued enough to propel me to read more of the series. I probably will continue on because I do have the second book, but probably not right away. I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in the month of March was Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I read this for my In Real Life book club, who picked this book, and it was my book pick, and I was really excited that everyone really loved it. I can't wait to start on Thunderhead. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, I actually listened to on Audible, was Children of Blood and Bone, and I loved this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Listening to it, the narrator did such an amazing job. It was fantastic. It was a thrilling ride from start to finish, and it's gonna be a series. I can't wait for the next book to come out. This is seriously a wonderful debut novel. The next book I read was A High-End Finish by Kate Carlisle, and this was for the Cozy Mystery Book Club. I loved this book. I loved the main characters, really all the characters, even the ones that were the bad characters. They were just so well developed. You had those characters that you love to hate and the just characters that you plain loved. I love Shannon. She's the main protagonist, and she's the one that has to figure out who done it in this cozy mystery, and it was just so much fun. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. Next book I read was Two Alone by Sandra Brown. I just picked up this book because I'm doing a lot of Sandra Brown buddy reads with Kelsey over at Hardback Haven. We found out that we both love Sandra Brown, and so we have been, at the end of every month, we have been reading a Sandra Brown book. Most of them are rereads for me because I have read literally everything by Sandra Brown, but I like rereading Sandra Brown. She's really great, so this is a really quick read. I just picked it up and got through it in a couple of hours, and it's about these two people, Rusty and Cooper. They are on a plane together, and their plane goes down in this wilderness, this, snowy wilderness. If you've ever seen The Mountain Between Us with Kate Winslet, it's kind of like that. I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. Next book I read was Play Dirty by Sandra Brown. This was a buddy read with Kelsey at Hardback Haven and my co-hostess with the co-mostess Jen. We have a number of buddy reads coming up, all Sandra Brown, and I love Sandra Brown. She's an Insta author for me, and like I said, Kelsey loves Sandra Brown previously, but she kind of stopped reading her for a while. Now she's rekindling her love of her, and then Jen has never read Sandra Brown, so I love introducing people to my favorite authors and then they love their work, so it's awesome. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Next book I read in the month of March was Show Me the Way by A.L. Jackson. This was our book pick for the Romantics at Hart book club. We did a live stream talking about it, and I will link that in the description if you want to check it out. Really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next books that I read in the month of March was all 7 books of the Chronicles of Narnia series by C.S. Lewis, The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, and The Last Battle. I just love all of these covers. They were actually a really good find that I found at Goodwill. I read all of these for middle grade March, and I loved that I read this whole series like back to back. It took me a day for about each book, so I got through them pretty quickly. Really enjoyed it. Overall, I gave this series 4 out of 5 stars. Some books less, some books more. My favorite book in this series is The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and my least favorite is The Horse and His Boy. That's it. Those are all the books that I read in the month of March. Let's do a quick tally. Alright, so that makes a grand total of 16 books that I read in the month of March. I was talking with Jen, my co-hostess with the co-mostess, and she says all of these books should count as one. I don't think so. I might say maybe they could count as 3 books. So if we want to do that, I can say I read 13 books in the month of March, but they're all separate books, so that's how I did it. So 16 books in the month of March. Comment below if you had read and loved or hated any of these books. I would love to know all your thoughts. Like my video if you did, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you're new. You can follow me on all the social media platforms. The links will be in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day. I'll see you next time, avid readers.